show you three things quite often mistaken as creaking from the bottom bracket and crank area. As a professional bike mechanic, I can't remember how many thousands of times a customer has told me there's a ticking or a creaking noise coming from their bottom bracket. The reality is, the noise often comes from one or more of the connections between the saddle, seat post and or frame. An easy mistake to make if you don't know how to diagnose it. So I have a simple process that allows me to work out where the ticks, clicks and creaks come from on a bike super fast. Once you learn the first two parts of this quick process of elimination, you'll never question where that bottom bracket noise is coming from again.
You've just got to become the bike.
Welcome to stage 19 of Tour de Bike 2024, where I'll guide you through working out where that bottom bracket noise is really coming from, why it is happening and how to stop it in the first place. The interfaces between the saddle, seat and the frame surrounding area can all cause creaking, ticking and cracking noises. There are three main reasons these noises occur and all have easy fixes. But first, let's look at finding where the noises are coming from. First thing to do is hold the saddle by the nose and the tail and apply force up and down like a seesaw. While still holding the saddle the same way, apply sideways force one way and then the other. It's worth being reasonably vigorous to imitate the type of stress a saddle goes through with your weight on it over a bumpy surface. If it makes a noise, you've already narrowed down an area creating the annoyance. This doesn't mean the bottom bracket has been eliminated as a culprit, so it's definitely worth testing the bottom bracket too. I get the bike and put the closest crank to me, pointing vertically to the ground and hold onto the saddle and handlebars. I put my foot on the pedal and push down and slightly towards the bike with a good amount of force. Whether there is a noise or not, go around to the other side of the bike and do the same thing. I'll repeat this 3 or 4 times, just like I was riding the bike down the road, pushing down on one side and then the other. It's not unusual to get no noise on the first side tried and then get it on the other side. If something is moving in the bottom bracket unit, it may have settled down on the first side tested and give an initial false reading. Don't be put off by the amount the frame seems to flex. A lot of that is the wheels. Equally, don't be silly about it. The other test for the bottom bracket is removing the chain and just turning the cranks to feel if the bearings are smooth or not. You'll also want to listen out for a dry bearing sound. If none of these tests give an audible response, you may have to ride the bike. Sometimes these noises can't be recreated without extra pressure from the rider weight and riding surface. If the bike makes a noise in the saddle, it could be either or both the seat fixing areas and the bottom bracket. If it only makes a noise when standing on the pedals, it isn't related to the saddle and post fixing areas. A good way to test for saddle area related noises is to coast along with your feet off the pedals. This will eliminate the bottom bracket as a culprit. The seating support area of the bike takes a lot of strain because it's holding you up and makes the components susceptible to a lot of movement and load. There could be as many as 4 different materials involved: aluminium, carbon, steel and titanium. When any of these materials rub together, they are prone to making creaking, cracking and ticking noises. The 4 main reasons are not lubricated properly, not tight enough, grit contamination and pre-warning of component failure. In my experience, more often than not, it's a lack of lubrication in the correct areas. If you ride your bike in wet conditions, the whole saddle to frame section area of the bike is under constant abuse from the spray of water and grit from the rear tyre. The manufacturer of your new bike and the mechanic who did the final assembly in the bike shop have truly let you down. At very best, 90% of new bikes will only have one of the 3 necessary areas lubricated. On top of that, the manufacturer won't have helped by putting thread locker on the bolts just in case the shop mechanic doesn't do them up tight enough. Using a good quality grease will eliminate these problems once and for all. Let's get rid of all 3 problems at once, and if there are still noises, something may have to go in the bin. Before we do, a quick reminder, this is stage 19 of a 21 stage tour around any new bike, showing shortcuts taken at reduction and final assembly to cut costs. If you haven't already checked out the previous stages, take a look to see what else needs doing on your bike before it's too late. In stage 20 of Tour de Bike 2024, we'll be visiting the handlebar and seat regions again. We'll take an overview of the rider position on a bike for comfort and performance. If your bike fitment is already done, put some insulation tape on the seat post to mark your height. Use a marker pen on the saddle rail to ensure the same fore and aft position when done. Take your saddle and seat post out of the bike and wipe clean with a rag. This is especially important if your bike is not new, as any kind of grit can cause creaking noises as well. Remove the seat clamp or collar from the top of the frame. If you have a frame with an internal clamping mechanism, so it's more aero, you'll need to remove the whole thing from inside the frame. With the external clamp style, you want to get a bit of grease on your finger or a little twizzle stick. Run that around the inside of the clamp where it's going to contact the seat tube and smear it around. Make sure you do all the contact points on the side and also the lip of the clamp where it's going to sit on the top of the seat tube. With an internal clamping mechanism, you'll need to grease any parts that slide up against each other, but not the face that pushes against the seat post. Grease the fixing bolt too, as you may not have access once it's back in the frame. Replace the seat post clamp on the seat tube or put the mechanism that was inside the frame back in. Grease any bolt threads there are, despite the manufacturer putting thread lock on them if they have. Before you put the seat post back in, you want to get another twizzle stick. I use a bit of brake cable for this one and get some good amount of quality grease inside the seat tube. Make sure there is a nice amount of grease around the whole circumference of the inside of the seat tube. If there's a carbon post and or frame, use carbon fibre grip instead of grease. Don't put the grease on the seat post and then slide the seat post into the seat tube. This is not as effective and very little gets into the frame because it just gets caught on the clamp or seat tube as the post goes back in. Put your seat post back in the bike to where your tape is and secure it tight with the relevant clamping system. The final thing we want to have a look at is the bolts holding the saddle cradle to the seat. There's usually no need to take the seat cradle apart or remove the saddle. If you have more than one bolt, loosen both off a little to start with so neither is tight anymore. For a single bolt, just loosen it off nearly all the way out of the holding thread. Then individually loosen one of the two nearly all the way out so there is still some thread left in the top of the cradle or the fixing nut. Smear some grease on the male thread underneath the female thread. Screw it back in nearly all the way. Then do exactly the same thing to the other bolt. This will make getting the angle of your seat pretty close to where it was beforehand, taking less time for the final adjustment. Then tighten the two bolts up in a series, going from one to the other until they are tight enough, making sure it is in the correct place on the rails fore and aft. All these areas usually have very low advised torque settings. My best advice to you is tighten them up so the seat doesn't move under a good amount of load. The way to test is hold the seat at the back and front and then just try and move it like we did earlier to see if it was creaking. Don't be afraid to put some effort in. The clamps are meant to hold your whole body weight bumping around as you go down the road. The last thing you want is a ride home with a broken seat clamp or loose post. It's a long way out of the saddle in the big chainring wherever you are. A lot of other things that can cause creaking, ticking and cracking noises on bikes have been covered in the previous stages of Tour de Bike 2024. If you haven't already checked out all the other stages, take a look because a lot of them will stop future problems when it comes to your bike making noise. Click on the playlist at the end of the video. My name is Ashley Malcolm and I look forward to seeing you in stage 20 of Tour de Bike 2024. Until then, thanks and take care.